My name is Braydon Olinger, and I am a web developer currently residing in St. Louis, Missouri. I have 10 years of experience in digital marketing and have recently become obsessed with web and software development. Over the last 3 months, my cohort classmates and I have been learning the ins and outs of full-stack web development via the Savvy Coder Bootcamp. In these 3 months, we have gained knowledge and expertise in languages like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, while also utilizing software and applications like VS Code, GitHub, Jira, Render, and Netlify to deploy various web pages and applications. I've gained an IC Agile certification as we learned in an agile environment that included daily stand-ups, story point applications, sprint reviews, and retrospections after closing each sprint. In the first and second sprints, I acted as a scrum master for the class, assuring we were remaining on track with the curriculum homework and the other class expectancies, while also troubleshooting with other members of the cohort when a roadblock would occur. What I created for my Capstone project is a website called EsportSync. EsportSync is a calendar application that scholastic and professional esports has been needing for quite some time. Before I get ahead of myself, let me briefly explain why I chose this as my Capstone project. Esports, or competitive video games, have been a part of my life since 2012. Esports is responsible for many of my childhood core memories, lifelong friendships, and the resume that I add to every day. I started as a social media manager for an esports news outlet and have since held various other marketing positions, and even received a full ride scholarship to Missouri Baptist University. One thing remained consistent throughout my tenure in esports: people were awful at sticking to a calendar or schedule, which is why I chose to create EsportSync, a web app that allows you to populate a calendar with your favorite team's events. You can see here on the homepage, the user will find themselves with their own personalized calendar, preloaded with all the top esports titles and upcoming events. You can see this also represented in my index.js file. Here, the calendar view and the functionality is created. And in this Axios post and get call is where we create our appointments, and then they're stored. The user can click into the event and then see a start time, end time, and an option to delete the event from the calendar. This is represented by an if-else Axios delete call right here. Navigating to the About Me page, you can find my specific bio, links to my Twitter, LinkedIn, GitHub, and my digital marketing portfolio, as well as any certificate that I've earned. We can then shift to the Contact Me view, where you'll find a form to submit your first name, last name, email address, and a message that'll ping me directly if the user has any questions, bugs, or general troubleshooting FAQs. In my last view, the events view, this shows a tabled list of all the populated calendar events. This can be used to quickly locate the start time and the end time of an event if desired. I did this by using a template literal structure in the HTML of my events view, while being displayed in a table as seen in the HTML here. An Axios call would then be made after a new event is populated on the calendar, which would then route back to the template literals and list as seen here. My choice for API was the Open Weather Map API, originally used in the class SPA, and you can see the implementation here. As well as in my index.js. Inside of my server in the app.js file, you can find the core's middleware setup. And then real quick, I can run through our server setup here. So we go to our model and our appointment.js folder. Within this is going to be our Mongoose schema setup, and so this is going to be all of the calendar appointments data. So we have the title here, the start time, the end time, the URL, and then the all-day function, or all-day boolean rather. And then it's going to const appointment, and the Mongoose model is going to be registered under appointment. And then we'll export appointment back to the calendar. And then back in our server router appointment.js file, you can see this is where we're importing the router from Express, and then we're importing appointments back from that export in the last folder from models appointment.js. And then this is our router hookups here. This is the route for setting up an appointment, and then down here we have the route to get all appointment datas, and then get a single appointment by ID. This is how we were able to find the ID when we click into a appointment, and if we were to delete it, adjust it, something like that. Speaking of delete the appointment by ID here, there's that router function there, and then update a single appointment ID as well. And then, of course, all of this is set up in the traditional SPA or single page application format. And so what that is saying is in our components file, we're going to have our different components folders. Index.js is going to have all of our main components of it, so footer, main, nav, and header. And this is where we have our nav set up here. This is going to be the logo. This is my EsportSync logo. And then the class FA bars is going to be the hamburger bars, and hidden mobile is the class. And then this is going to be the template literal for the nav item, in which we have right here. So we've got the href, and then the title, and then the date navigo. And then if we want to jump into views here, these are going to be all the independent views that we have. And of course, we are importing HTML so that we can write HTML in the JavaScript file. We're also importing a couple different items here. We're importing my headshot, the IC Agile profile picture, and then my Google IT certification. And then here we just have an HTML setup. Got a couple different classes here, CSS styling, and then yeah. And then if we want to jump into my index.js file within my views, this is going to be basically just populating all my views in here so that we can import them later on. And so yeah, this is obviously default about me, home, view not found. Hopefully we don't see that one often. Event details, events, and contacts. And then if we just want to jump in my home view here, we can see we're importing HTML again, like we have in all the other views, and then importing my EsportSync logo. That's going to be the top on top of the calendar. And then here we can kind of see the calendar set up here, and then my API call here. So what this is doing is it's relaying the information from weather class, and then the weather in, and then it's pulling in from the API the state weather city, and then the state weather description, and then the temperature is state weather temp, and then the feels like is state weather feels like. Looking at my wireframes, you can see that in the future I would like to implement the specific games logos as toggleable buttons that will filter the calendar by those specific titles referencing the app ID. I would also like to make a shareable view for teams to share out to other teams, giving them the option to request a scheduled scrim, match, or practice day against that other team. One of the biggest troubles I had in my code was reformatting an old repo in which I had got the full calendar library used in my app today to be suitable for what I needed. This involved reorganizing my Axios calls from independent calls to async await calls so that both my OpenWeather API and the full calendar could operate on the home page of my website. I also had to format the two functions into a try-catch format, as there was a functionality issue in the event losing its app ID after clicking through to the event details. We then connected my environment variables to Netlify, deployed my server to render, and now have a fully functioning web application.